Hello, it's good to see you again. I want to talking about eats and feast. This may be an obvious difference to you, or it may not be. If it's not, good, you'll find this interesting. I decided to talk about this kind of like my last week's video. If you've not seen that, please go and see it. It's decoration versus celebration, and if you watch that, you'll know where I'm coming from in today's video. So the main difference between these two is obviously celebration. Why I thought of this subject is because I don't want to start any wars here, but food is huge where I live. It is a big insult to any family if I eat very little food, and I'm sorry about that, but I do eat little food. I don't need more than a little food. But this directly hurts the people who have made the food. That's what I've noticed everywhere where I live. And it really got me thinking because I walk past so many slums and I thought, now, does that mean that these slum people can't celebrate Christmas because they don't have a lot of food? Does it mean that you can't feast if you don't have a large quantity of food? Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you a small story which my mother shared with me. I hope she doesn't mind. It's a beautiful story, actually set in a quite horrific circumstance, okay? My mother's father, my grandfather, was a lighthouse keeper. So they shifted all over India to lighthouse ports whenever they were shifting as a family. Sometimes it was just him, but often they shifted with him. And when my mom was small, they went to this particular place. Now all these obviously are coastal areas. And there was a big storm, a huge storm, which kept them at home for 3 whole days. They could not step out. And even though everything was shut, sand was just in thick layers flooding the entire house. So they could not dream of going out. And by the 3rd day, they were starved, they hadn't eaten, they'd run out of all their supplies. And their father just had no choice but to venture out into this cyclone and get food somehow. So he did that. He passed away last year. Some people, they just don't seem like they've ever gone even when they're gone, right? Anyway, my grandfather had this very amazing spirit and he went into this massive storm and got them some food, okay? So when he came home, there was this little tiffin they saw, little steel tiffin with boiled egg curry and some rice. And my mom says that it had a lot of sand in the tiffin. Can you imagine what kind of storm this was? Sand went into that tight steel tiffin. You know those tight steel tiffins. It's hard sometimes even to open it. Anyway, there was sand in this egg curry, but they did not see any sand, they did not feel any sand, they did not taste any sand. All they tasted was this amazing, life-saving feast. And my mom says that she has never had as good a meal as that sand egg curry rice as that day. Now that's what I call a feast. You're with your loved ones, you have food, and you are enjoying every tiny morsel of it. Now I know Christmas is a time where you will see all these special recipes and special dishes, and you do look forward to the interesting different kind of food that you might eat this Christmas. But I want to say, if you don't have the money to afford a special meal or even to go out with your family or to just have a much better meal than you normally have, that's not what a feast is about. What really sets apart a feast is the uniqueness, is the celebration, is the speciality of that event. That's what makes it a feast. And mind you, in the Old Testament, there's a lot of commands from God to the Israelites where He tells them, set apart certain days for the certain festivals that they had, like the festival of unleavened bread, where they had to eat bread without yeast in it, if I remember correctly. And many days like this where they were commanded to eat and drink and dance and enjoy themselves and give food to those who didn't have food. They were commanded to feast, but the food itself wasn't the event, okay? It's all about how you eat it. I love food, by the way, but I've experienced many meals where there's been amazing food, no flaw in it at all. It's delicious, it feels great, but I've eaten it with a kind of whatever attitude, like, it should have been like this, or we could have gone here instead. And there's been no memory of it after that. Nothing special about that meal. Sometimes it didn't even do good to my body because I didn't eat it in the right way. However, I've had many meals where I have looked at the food, whether it was my favorite food or not, and thought, I have food. Wow, that's great. I know there are people dying of food in my country, but right now I'm able to eat this food, and that is amazing. To me, that's what really makes it a feast. It totally reminds me of another video I made, which is how to pray before eating. It's a kind of fun video, but with a very serious note, to give thanks for your food. Okay, that's gonna really set apart your meal, whether it's a great meal or not, whether there's a lot of food or not. It's okay, just have a feast. You don't have to have a lot of food or very exquisite cuisine for it to be a feast. All you need is the right attitude, preferably people that you enjoy being with, and to just enjoy that moment of feasting. Even if you are alone with yourself having a meal this Christmas or this Christmas season, you're not really with the people you love, it's still possible to have a feast. It all depends on how you celebrate this event of Jesus coming to the earth, of Jesus being in your life, or if he's not in your life, then it just doesn't make sense. But if you are a believer, celebrate Jesus, okay? That will really make it a feast. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for listening to this video, and like it if you did, and comment below your thoughts on this topic. I'm Vihan Damaris on Serious Sundays, signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow on Miraculous Mondays. Bye.